For a Watertown City Council work session for September 2nd of 2025. It's not on the agenda, but please rise for a prayer and the pledge.
Heavenly Father, this day that you've blessed us with, we just come to you with thanksgiving. We thank you for the opportunity now as we gather. We gather in these quarters in the city hall here, Lord. All of us, we're in this city together, Lord, with all different perspectives and all different qualities and skill sets. And so tonight, Lord, I just pray to guide us through the conversation. Give us wisdom on how to properly navigate through this decision at the work session and along with throughout the meeting later on as well. And so we thank you for your faithfulness in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jennifer, what's your title? Records and License Manager. How about I just call you Manager Collins? Manager Collins, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Jurens.
Here.
Peters. Here. Shetty.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Hoyer.
Here.
Helene.
Here.
Mormon.
Here.
Thank you.
Quorum is established. The chair will entertain a motion to approve today's agenda. Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Shetty. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. On our regular agenda, we have one item, which is a restaurant liquor license fee discussion. To start off, I thought it would be a good idea to do a little bit of a recap as to how we got here, why we got here, and just some of the history involved. And for that, I am going to our city manager, Alan Stager, to give us some recap.
Thank you, Mayor. By way of recap, the legislation that enacted this class of license was initiated in 2009 by the state legislature. At that time, a liquor license was passed that had a couple of requirements associated with it. Number one is a 60%, 40% food versus alcohol revenue mix. Secondly, the license can only be issued to a business that holds itself out as a restaurant, and there are several statutory requirements that define a restaurant, including having a separate dining room, table service, a specific menu, as well as other requirements. And the legislation refers to this class of license as a full-service restaurant liquor license. Shortly after the law was enacted in 2009, the Watertown City Council passed an ordinance and a fee resolution to implement the license within the city. At that time, following the state statute, a license fee of $205,000 was set on the restaurant liquor license. That $205,000 was based upon sale records of the full liquor licenses that had taken place prior to enacting the law. Also, as part of that statute, there is a requirement that that initial fee for a restaurant liquor license be held for a 10-year period of time. So advancing to 2019 was an opportunity for the City Council at that time to review the license fee assessed on the restaurant liquor license. At that time, the council debated the issue and ultimately settled on setting a fee at $100,000 for the restaurant liquor license. Since that time, we have not issued any restaurant liquor licenses. In fact, a license has not been issued at all within the city of Watertown under the statutes. Approximately 6 weeks ago, several council members asked the question regarding what it would take to evaluate the fee on a restaurant liquor license. I'll let the council members talk to their reasons why as they give their testimony. But that essentially brings us to why we are here tonight. Tonight, we will walk through some background information in some slides that we will have available as questions come up, so we have a reference in front of us. Tonight's action could range from a recommendation to do nothing to changing the license fee at a future council meeting. And we also have the ability to discuss applying different limits and actions and restrictions on a restaurant liquor license. So I'll stand by for any questions, and I'm happy to share background information as the conversation warrants.
Thank you, City Manager. Along with the handout that was issued by staff, I thought it would be helpful just for council, so I'm going to pass out. These are a list of all of the liquor licenses in Watertown and who owns them, and just listing them off, just kind of like for curiosity. Councilman Jurns, I saw him earlier today and gave him one then. So just for the sake of sharing information. Councilman Jurns, I could allow you some time now to speak to this before I take public testimony, or you can wait until after public testimony if you desire.
I'm here to listen.
Okay. Councilman Peters, did you have anything to say right off the bat? There will be time for council to speak after we take public testimony. I will urge everyone here to be respectful of the body. Try not to repeat or too often repeat what others have said. I can assume that some of the arguments are the same, but just cite your approval of something else that someone else might have said, but then add on to it if you have further arguments. For the sake of, I don't want to assume that I know how the lines are drawn, depending upon who's showing up, but I do want to be fair to both sides. So I will say I want the proponents to have a chance to speak before several of the opponents would speak. So I would like to invite any proponent to have a chance at the microphone first.
Mayor, what if I'm neutral?
I could go neutral after proponents. So is there anyone who would like to testify on the proponent side? And I'll ask you, when you come forward, just say your full name and who you're representing, if you are representing something.
I'm Tom Bolt, I represent Cloud9 and.
Is that microphone, there should be a red light on the top. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
I represent a few businesses in town here that we have liquor licenses at. There's one business I don't have a liquor license at, that this would work really well at. I don't really think this even competes with the other liquor licenses. I mean, it does not have, as we went over this before, does not have a video lottery with it. You gotta be 60% food. From what I see on this deal, it's just pretty much, they're giving you a permit to serve liquor at that establishment if you're 60% food and you meet all their guidelines and requirements. If there was a liquor license available out there, I would gladly buy one, but there's none out there to buy right now. I mean, they're all taken, they're all spoken for right now. That's why I think this would be a good idea to get something like this passed, so I could serve liquor at my third establishment. I've tried to deal with a couple other people, liquor license, nobody has one. I mean, if this passes and somebody wants to sell me their liquor license for $200,000, I'd do it tomorrow. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's a shortage. I think we're met on how many we can have in the community per population and whatnot. But I think it'd be, myself to serve liquor at this establishment over there. I don't think it's going to affect any of the liquor licenses. You look back at what happened from 2019 when they changed this. The values went up. They didn't go down, they went up because everybody's holding on to theirs because of the video lottery and other things that's worth money. You can use it for, capital or whatever else. I mean, this license, if I sell the business, my assumption is the next business owner has got to buy their own, So where the other ones, it transfers with the business, you can sell it, you can use it for collateral, you can do whatever you want with it. Is $25,000 a mark? I don't know, but I think $100,000's too much to try to front to just serve liquor. When you're only serving food, it's a whole different business when you serve food with your establishment. They come in, they eat, they're in and out, and they're out by usually by you know, Dakota Butchers usually close at 10, 10:30 every night. Or my other restaurants, I mean, well, Lone Pines usually close by 10, 10:30 every night. The other one's open till 1, 2 in the morning. It's a whole different atmosphere there. So you got a short window to make your money in the restaurant business. We're not open all day. We're open from 4 o'clock till 10:30 at night, 5 days a week. We're not open 7 days a week to do this. I honestly just don't think it's going to affect the price of the liquor licenses, considering what comes with the package on the other ones. Is 25, like I said, is 25 the mark? I don't know. I just think 100,000 is just too much to front up if anybody that wants to try to run a business, or obviously you guys know, I've heard that there's businesses closing, restaurants closing every day because they can't make it. And liquor really helps out the bottom line at the end of the day. If you got liquor, there's a lot of people that won't even step foot in Dakota Butcher because there's no liquor over there. And I know a lot of people that tell me the same thing, and even the people that own liquor license tell me that. But I guess that's all I got to say about it right now. I just hope you guys consider changing it a little bit at least, or something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Manager, I see that some material has been shown up on the screen. Did you want to add anything to the conversation right now?
We do have material on the screen. If anybody has questions about the particulars of any of the licenses, we will keep this up. Jumping specifically into it, though, I think the comparison between the restaurant license and the full retail liquor license is probably where the testimony will center around, so I'll bring that up.
And just some material that was not included in the recap of how we got here was a little bit on the last time the council discussed this. Some of the things that we are here to discuss is not only just lowering the cost potentially, but would that license then be transferable? We don't know that. We haven't settled upon that solution yet. We haven't settled upon the exact price range. There's a few other questions, such as, do you limit the footprint to not have any possibility of video lottery? These are just things that had been proposed and not concluded. So those will be things in the council's deliberations as well. Is there anybody else on the proponent side? Oh, yeah, and then also, there is no action being taken today. We're not voting upon this today. We are just gathering information today. So.
Daniel Schwalm, owner and operator of the Wobbly Penguin. I'm on both sides, I guess you could say, of kind of this scenario. I don't know exactly your mandates at the end. I don't think anybody really does yet until you come together and make a total thing. But on the controversial side to what Bolt said there, it's not impossible to run a business without a liquor license. I did it for 7 years. My bar was a beer bar only. I did it with food and beer, with not a problem. I understand that lottery licenses could be a deal with the whole entire deal, but they're out there. You can find them. So I understand that this may help certain people, but I still don't understand the 60-40 part, because now coming from a beer owner only to a liquor establishment as well, trying to run a 60-40 establishment with liquor you're going to be cheating the books. I don't honestly think there's a plausibility that that'll work out for a person. Have to be like a 70-30 split on liquor, or should be like a 60 liquor, 40 food is what it would end up having to be. I fully believe that there's no way that would work out plausibly. I also think that this is a reason why people haven't come to grab one. Probably because I'm guessing that you lose the 25,000 if you go over and the state audits you or something to that effect, right? So at 100 grand, that's a big scare to try to lose that kind of money if someone does audit you, which, in my suggestion, if you do push one of these out to an establishment, I think it should be mandated that they do get an audit in the first year, just to make sure that everything is straightened up, because it's never been put out there before. And I do believe people should be doing their books correctly and everything up and up. I've had to do it for a long time. It's been hard first year trying to get a liquor license, finally got one. I don't think that they should be handed out though. So 25 grand, is a little skimp on that. That's where I'll leave that for now.
Thank you, Mr. Schwalm. Is there anyone else on the proponent side? Any other proponents? Any neutrals?
Well, good afternoon. My name is Tim Sheehan. I'm President and CEO of the Watertown Area Chamber of Commerce. And I'm like Sean, if I don't have this in front of me, I kind of go off on tangents or forget what I'm going to say. So I did watch the August 18th City Council meeting. Actually, I reviewed it several times just to make sure I fully understood the discussion surrounding the proposed liquor license changes. I feel everyone agrees it appears that this matter had progressed rapidly with limited input from current license holders. My interpretation of the August 18th meeting is that there is a collective desire to work through this and find some comprehensive solutions. I noted several comments from the city manager, Steger, Mayor Holine, Councilman Shuddy, and Councilman Jurens, all emphasizing the need for further discussion, research, and vetting of ideas. Specifically, phrases like, "we've got some more work to do," and "sometimes things just need to be vetted out," resonated strongly. Councilman Allen also had some really good questions that were either answered or more clarification was needed. In line with this collaborative spirit, as suggested by Councilman Moorman's comments about finding solutions that work for all entities, I propose we take the time to gather the current license holders, a meeting where they can collectively discuss, share ideas, and address unanswered questions would be highly beneficial. One idea I had that, from my review and warrants consideration, relates to the potential precedent of tiered licensing fees. For example, if an individual already owns 2 licenses, could the city consider vetting or setting a precedent in the state of South Dakota where a 3rd license is valued at $25,000? I don't know the statute much more than you do, but if that allows that, I can see that as a viable option. This is just one idea to begin the conversations, and I believe pooling our collective insights will lead to effective solutions. I would like to see someone facilitate this process and ensure that the voices of all the license holders are heard, as well as, and work towards an equitable and sustainable outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else neutral? All right. Opponents, are there anybody, is there anyone who would like to testify? I won't even say, there's not even a proposal to vote yay or nay on, so it's more just the idea. Just testimony. Who else would like to speak? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Jenny Kozeski. There's some unfamiliar faces here. My husband and I have owned Second Street for the last 25 years. So we're old school. We've seen it all. We've been through the Sunday liquor license, the decreased liquor license. We've been there through that time. I believe that $100,000, and no offense, Tom, I love you, but $100,000 as a startup fee when you're starting a business is very minimal. There's business owners in this building up on council who have businesses. $100,000 fee is, I'm not saying this in the wrong manner, but it's pennies when you start up a business. If you're wanting a liquor license that bad, you can put up the $100,000 fee. The other thing that I'd like to address is that at your last work session, Mrs. Carrico brought up the idea of a conflict of interest. And when this does go through, I would greatly appreciate for some of you, if there is conflict of interest, that you would recuse yourself from the vote. I think that this amendment was brought up for personal reasons from a council person and maybe a friendship of a new business that's going to be starting up. And it shouldn't be a detriment to the rest of us who have held liquor licenses for all these years. If that's the case, maybe you should consider putting a 20% tax on the revenue of these things. If they're not willing to pay the price of it upfront, they should have to pay the price of it over time.
I'm not sure I understand that part.
So if you give them a smaller liquor license fee, have them pay a 20% tax on the liquor license, or the liquor that they sell. So if they're making $100,000 over a year on liquor, tax them 20% on it. You can rent a liquor license for $2,500 a month right now to the ones that are available. there's got to be some kind of fee to reimburse the rest of us that carry these licenses all these years. Do you understand it now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I was just thinking, so. I'm not sure the separate, I wrote it down, I'm not sure a separate tax rate is even permissible by state law. I know that's one of the issues that has been presented at the state, because you're taxing things at different rates, and I'm not sure that's even allowable. But,
Is it state law if there's only 27 allowed in Watertown? Is that what that is?
and just the question coming from the audience is the number of 27 capped by the state law? And yes, it is. It's based upon population. So this came up at the agenda meeting this morning, is really the only way for new liquor licenses to come up in the city of Watertown is for our population to grow. And that's how, so Sioux Falls and Rapid City have basically been the two cities that have increased in their number of liquor licenses since this law, the restaurant liquor license, was passed in 2009, and that's because their populations are growing so fast that they have more liquor licenses that come up when the population increases. So I think Watertown would actually have to hit above 28,000 to have another liquor license be created in the state. So I think I got that all right. So anyone else would like to testify? Come on up.
So how do we make this green? Or
No,
is red good?
it's good.
Okay, cool. So I was gonna print this out, and then I was rushing back from Sioux Falls I'm looking for a clock, about 30 minutes ago, and I barely made it, so I didn't get to print it out, so it's gonna look kind of weird on my laptop, but we're gonna go for it anyway. So I'm Sean Dempsey. I'm representing Dempsey's Brewery Pub and Restaurant, Watertown, South Dakota. Like Jenny, I've been in the industry for for 25, 26 years of my life. Fun fact, Jenny served me my first beer a long, long time ago. It was a Pacifico, and it was warm. But I still always appreciate that. I thought that was really cool. Anyway, as Tim said, I decided this time I was going to write it down so I could actually get the points I articulated. So 24 hours ago, I made a social media post, and I'd made one the day before about the date of this meeting, the time, because I really wanted to see more liquor license holders here. I wanted more of the public to be aware of what was happening, because my biggest struggle that I'd had for a while is that I haven't just seen a lot of information going on about this. If you're not in the know, or you're not, you don't have your finger on the pulse, it's hard to find information. The first article I found about it was another social media article from KXLG at like 9 o'clock last night. I wasn't sure how many of my fellow liquor license holders had heard about this, so I started making calls and trying to get people to come down and hang out, so it just wouldn't be me by myself doing this, which was, thank you all for coming, by the way. It's much better this way. Anyway, to the main thing, that social media post got a lot of traction. It was never really meant to be crazy political. I really wanted to make people aware of how I feel, what my views were about this information, and try to lay it out so everyone could see, some pros and some cons, and why I was much more of against this. The cost reduction, in my opinion, the cost reduction of this 60/40 license main goal is to, one, bring in new restaurants. And this would be by incentivizing them with a cheaper alternative of buying or obtaining a liquor license or paying the $100,000 for a liquor license. And the second one of that would be to create a new license for a few businesses in town that currently don't have liquor. And that would be what I think the main goal of this bill coming forward would be. I got to stop saying so much. This is a city subsidized liquor license. It's created to bring in new competition to our local restaurant scene. This license is transferable to private events, but the main things it can't do is it can't be sold, and it doesn't have the video lottery license attached, which is what some people are saying will save the value in our current licenses. I consider that our license, which costs well over $175,000, our license that costs well over $175,000, while has the video lottery license, sorry, I lost that point. Let me rephrase that. Our license was expensive to buy. It came with the video lottery license. Currently, if you were to obtain this license right now, and if we were to drop it to 25,000 or 50,000 or 75 or whatever that would be, it would be really easy, I think, to go and obtain another video lottery license to attach it to that, to create basically the same license I currently have for, roughly right now, almost half of the cost. As established restaurants, we've already bore the tremendous cost of acquiring the license and becoming established. We have followed the rules, done things right, and I feel this is unfair to us, the restaurant owners, in no small terms. We've been around for a long time. What about supporting local? What about supporting the people who support the community? We've been there through thick and thin, pouring our heart and soul into each one of our shops, and this has been frustrating and disheartening. I'm actually experiencing the first time I've not been able to sleep for a full night, which is weird. It's like my one superpower I have. But slashing the price to 25,000 or even 50,000 gives new restaurants a hefty discount, and we have to pay as the established shops. In my opinion, Watertown really can't sustain too many more restaurants until the population expands. This is an adage that we always talk about at our store, where you see 2 or 3 new ones pop up and you see 1 or 2 close. And as another case in point on that, we have restaurants. I kind of was trying to figure out how many restaurants we have in Watertown, because that definition is so vague. If you go to Google, we've got like 113 restaurants, but if you go to TripAdvisor, it's 78. And that was the metric I was using for the most part. It could be defined as easy as, is Casey's a restaurant? There's 3 of them. Would you consider Starbucks a restaurant? Would you consider Walmart a restaurant because it has some of those basic things? And what the metric I ended up using is I decided to start looking, I did this morning, to figure out exactly how many places in town can you get a drink? Where can I get a cerveza? Where can I get a Jack Coke? Where can I get a glass of sake? Where can I get a glass of wine? And in a sit-down environment, how many restaurants does Watertown have that fits those parameters? And I found 23. 23 restaurants in this town that are in our physical address at the 57201 that have those options. If you go into towns comparably to our size, like Brookings has 15 that fits that exact same demographic. And Brookings is the 4th largest town in South Dakota. Aberdeen's got 17. They're the 3rd largest town in South Dakota. We're populated at 22,000 or 23, somewhere in that fudge, or in those numbers. So I don't necessarily think we have a lack of restaurants. I understand the desire to see more restaurants coming in. We all like new things, but I think that by bringing in new restaurants, or just the city incentivizing these restaurants with a discounted liquor license, it's going to be just trouble for everybody. Restaurants are hard enough as it is. I mean, I could ask anybody in here who has a restaurant, or any restaurant I know, do you have a problem finding labor? I mean, we have such historically high or low unemployment rates here in Watertown. Where am I going to find my staff if 2 apostrophe restaurants show up, or somebody, we get a Ruby Tuesdays, we get an we already have an Applebee's, sorry, and they're okay. But yeah, if a Ruby Tuesdays or a Chili's or a TGI Fridays show up, and they take 50 people, where are they going to be pulling them from? They're pulling them from us. We're always short-staffed. That's kind of the thing. I can't remember the last time I had a fully staffed restaurant. But that's kind of my main point is, I mean, you go to a restaurant right now, do you have a long wait? Do you have to spend an hour and a half waiting to get served? Or is it pretty much, lickety-split kind of deal? It's tough. I understand that we've never sold a 60/40 license, and I understand that buying one is a hell of an investment. And if you fail, you're losing that entire income. It's just gone. But I mean, that's anything in the restaurant industry. You go, and I mean, now banks are making you sign personal guarantees. You go get a lease somewhere, you're signing a 5-term or a 10-term lease. Historically, restaurants fail after 3 years. You've got a 7 out of 10 people fail at that. After 5 years, it's 8 out of 10. And those are both from restaurantowner.com for specifics on that. But you've got such a high rate of failure that you're already penalized so much by everything else that I think the 100,000 failure is, I think the number's high. That's what I'm trying to get at is this. I think 100,000 is a lot, but I think 25,000 is too low to offer for something like this. So I'm not against some kind of compromise, something that we can work together to make this work, but for us old guard, it's got to be something that makes sense for us. I mean, we've been here a long time trying to make this work. We've been pouring money in the community. We've been supportive of all this, and we're just, I felt bad the last meeting because I just kind of felt like this big push for we want new restaurants and we want this now kind of thing kind of makes anyone who has a restaurant now feel like, I guess we're just not quite what you're looking for anymore, and that's fine, but I really got to stop saying so much. That's going to be, so in closing, this is it, no problem. In closing, I just wanted to paint a very, very quick picture. If this passes, and restaurant liquor licenses dropped down to 25,000. So you can just get one for 25K. Let's say some of us are worried about the value of our liquor license, and I say, well, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna take my liquor license, I'm gonna sell it as soon as humanly possible, protect that value, take that money and put it into a CD somewhere. Or I'm gonna buy one of these $25,000 ones. Well, let's say that if I do that, if 4 other people do it at the same time, or we all have the same concerns about that. This would, of course, supply and demand would cause the price to drop. If I'm opening a new restaurant in town and I can get a $25,000 liquor license, or I have to buy another guy's for $175 or $200, well, it's gonna be kind of prohibitive. I'm gonna be waiting until that liquor license gets down to where I can get it again. And you're not gonna make a market for us. I mean, like, we don't have, I wouldn't be selling my liquor license to a restaurant. My number one market would be people who can't get them right now at a discount, so it'd be casinos, it'd be bars. And they'd get a nice cheaper liquor license at a discount, or they'd open new casinos. And that's something that I just don't see us bringing in a lot of restaurants on this. I see us bringing a lot of bars and a lot of casinos, or at least a couple new ones, which is not what this is intended to be. I just don't believe having booze isn't the restaurant cure. You can succeed without it, but it's a calculated risk. It's just like opening a restaurant. It's weighing cons and pros, dreams and nightmares, you know? I urge you and anyone online to contact the city council members and to voice support for moving forward fairly and protecting the integrity of our local businesses that keep the heart in Watertown. Thank you.
Thank you.
I made it through that.
Would anyone else like to testify? And just to explain something to the council, this list of liquor licenses, it's by no means perfect, but the little dots that you might see to the right of the name are ones that at least I would classify as being potential restaurant liquor, you know, more along the lines of not just bars, but restaurants. That is by no means a scientific notation. It was just from my limited knowledge of these establishments. Would anyone else like to testify?
I would. Sorry, Daniel Schwalm here again from the Wobbly Penguin. I guess I had a question about the whole license itself. Is it to where if you end up getting the liquor license and then you end up getting a lottery license and you run your establishment, it's the same every month as it would be, how do I phrase this, I guess? So if it's at 25,000, you'd have no more fees or no more regulations towards the city after that? You wouldn't have to pay any different fees or anything to that extent after the 25 grand? Say it was 100 right now, it doesn't matter how much it is. There'd be no other action that the city would be getting helped out on off of that, I guess. Per se, you're a person that owns a liquor license, you buy one for $250,000, you have to pay that for the city. You're making a lot more tax money off of that purchase, I would say, than you are off a $25,000 purchase. Does that make sense? I guess. It was just kind of an idea. I guess I didn't really understand how that all worked.
If you're purchasing one from the city, would you pay tax on that?
Yeah, and then.
A restaurant liquor license?
No.
Just the
Yeah, are you
renewal
talking
every
about renewal
Right.
fees every
So
year?
That would be the
The-
only thing you have to worry about?
Yes, the renewal each year would be $1,500, and an additional, I believe it's $75 for a business license.
Okay. And you cap it at 10? What's to say it stays capped at 10?
It's currently not capped.
Okay.
Now, a proposal that the council could make would be to cap the number of licenses.
And could that ever change? The cap?
It would change by ordinance.
Okay, so that's a yes. Another question, I guess, what's the, Dempsey said, what is to keep a person from, well, say, 10 of us restaurant owners that own them now, deciding to drop ours right now, if we already own a separate lottery license, and just picking those up, selling ours to somebody else, and then just utilizing those between the people that already have restaurants. And that would stop everybody from getting a new restaurant in town, basically, unless they bought a $200,000 license. I mean, that, I'm not saying that that's how that should happen or anything like that would happen. I'm just saying it could. And is that like a plausible thing that you guys have thought about as well, I guess you could say?
I would say that council, I won't speak for the entire council, but I think we're here to learn more so that we make decisions.
I like that.
Along these lines.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would also offer, the council has the ability to place restrictions on the restaurant liquor license that are more restrictive than the state. We can't do anything that's less restrictive, and so one restriction could be to limit a physical location to only hold one class of license, which could be the restaurant liquor license.
Okay.
Would alleviate the concern that you've raised with somebody bringing in a casino under a separate license.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, there's, in the handout to the council, on one of the last pages, are just some of the things that council can consider. I'm saying this to the people in attendance and people watching this online, just so that you know that we have been wondering about this and asking ourselves questions to try to figure it out as well. So some of them are, we could change the $100,000 fee by resolution. We could limit the number of restaurant liquor licenses, or RLLs, by ordinance. So we could. Right now, that is not part of the proposal. The proposal right now is just to lower the fee, not to change the number of licenses. That could be part of it. If you limit it, do you then make it transferable? Kind of make it like a mini liquor license? We don't know that. That's another thing to be possibly considered. Do you prohibit the issuance of a video lottery license at the physical location of a restaurant liquor license by ordinance? Because we are aware that this would be a possibility. You could get the restaurant liquor license, and then just go get a video lottery license with a separate license, just have it, well, it would almost, I compare it to like the smoke shacks, because we've had issues with the smoke shacks where some of them actually do have a completely separate room, and you can't go from one place to the other. And then some are, let's say, it's more of a curtain between the two rooms. And so might satisfy the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. So that is another thing council could consider, is do you just say, if you have the restaurant liquor license, that footprint cannot have video lottery on it at all, even by a separate license. We don't know that. That's a thing could be considered. You could also make the food sales requirement more restrictive. We can't make it less, as City Manager Steger said. We can't make it less than 60-40, but we could possibly raise that up to 70-30. We could go even higher than that, something that could be considered. And then you could also, there's other things that I'm sure other council members have said, but right now I want to get more testimony. So who else would like to come and speak? This is your chance to be heard. I would just encourage everyone, if it meant this much for you to show up, then have your voice be heard as well. Okay. Yes, Councilman Hoyer.
Just for clarity on everyone, I'm abstaining from it. I won't be voting on this. But the thing I want to hear from people, because I know like what our numbers are, but I'm curious if any folks in the room know what your split is currently. Sean mentioned his last time. You know, and I know what ours are. I mean, and I'm fine voicing it too, what we did, but like ours were in 2023, 41.7 alcohol, food was 58.3. That would be disqualifying. 2024, alcohol was 40.4, food was 59.6. So then the question is, do you round it? How does that give you two? This is just information gathering. I think that's going to be helpful. It's kind of to your point with the Wobbly Penguin stuff, like that 60-40, like as a place that doesn't do it, I'm like, we don't even hit that. So good luck to whoever's going to go for that. But
Yeah,
Anyway.
thank you for that, Councilman. And we understand your recusing, but we would definitely like to hear you more in the conversation, because you are an expert who does live this.
I wouldn't call it an expert. I'm we don't touch hard alcohol. I have no real interest in touching it personally. But, you know, I guess for me, the curious thing with the restaurants that currently serve, I am curious what your splits are and if you would even feel comfortable making that jump. I mean, yours is pretty comfortable, it sounds like, Sean, if that was actually a plausible option you wanted to do.
And if you don't want to tell us your actual split, you could just say, do you hit that or not?
But that's what I've been curious the whole time, because I think it's a hard number.
You can come back up.
It's not a speech, I promise. It's not on my laptop. I'll try not to wait for this. I just had a couple quick clarifications I wanted to double check on. We would hit that split, yeah. There's a restaurant, we'd be right around that, like 73% food, and that's pretty consistent. So, I just had like for one, Mayor, you had said the license currently is transferable
No,
in this current state.
In the current
the slide.
state, it is,
It is, that's correct, right?
yes.
Okay, so the only difference right now between this count, or this license and a full one is the, you don't own it and the price. And no vid lottery. Yes, okay, that's one.
That, I shouldn't nod.
We're saying the same
Yes.
thing, I'm positive, I'm just saying
Yes,
it's
I
really,
mean,
really
but
weird.
For people who aren't watching this, I shouldn't just nod. Yes, my understanding is you are correct with
Okay.
that. City Manager
I-
Stager?
Just to comment on the transferability. Today, we have an unlimited number of restaurant liquor licenses that we can issue. There is a requirement that before we issue one, that existing license owners are contacted and asked if they would like to make their license available to sell. If the answer is no, then we can just issue a new license under today's lack of a cap. And so the question of transferability gets a little confusing.
Right.
Is,
So-
it may be transferable, but if nobody's willing to sell a license, it's not transferable, but without a cap, we can just issue a license.
So hypothetically, you could say on like a Monday morning, have someone roll call 27 people on that list and say, do you want to sell your license? And if they all say no, you can say, here's your license.
Correct,
That was a stamp.
And,
correct.
and
No,
just,
sorry, I wanted to clarify. I'm not mad. It was a
I
stamp.
also want to make something clear for everyone. The city cannot sell for less than, at a price for less than $1 per person.
Right.
That is the absolute lowest price the city can sell for. So 25,000, the number that was proposed, is about as close to that lowest limit possible because our population is roughly 23,000. By state law, we cannot sell it for less than $1 per person who lives in the city of Watertown.
Right. Sorry.
Mr. Dempsey? No.
The only I've got left is just what I personally would like to recommend is something along the lines of, I mean, the idea of not being able to have video lottery paired with this resonates really well with me, and I'm sure there's a few others that would feel very strongly about that. Same with the idea of the transfer thing, I would almost say, that one's tougher because that's part of the nice little quirk about having one of these is you could do more events. So I think even just starting on something along the lines of no transferability and no video lottery license on this would go a long way to at least getting some headway in. And that's all I got.
Councilman Allen?
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody who testified, too. It's been helpful for me to hear some of the details with regard to your individual businesses and how they operate and so forth. I confess I'm real confused about transferability because when we were speaking about it before, I was considering transferability to be the ability of someone who had a restaurant liquor license to do off-site weddings, events, those kinds of things. And are we saying, yes, you can do that, or no, you cannot?
There are two definitions of transferability here. One is transferability of ownership. My previous comments were on transferability of ownership. The license also allows special event transferability, and that is allowed under both classes of liquor license.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to testify?
Ask another question.
Councilman Hoyer?
The other question I had about it, because we're always talking about the alcohol versus food. So in the event that they do get a video lottery license, does that revenue count in that food category? Or is that external from both numbers and both figures?
So it's kind of marrying the two. We're crossing issues here because if you get a full-service restaurant license, There's no video lottery because you're supposed to be just operating as a restaurant. The restaurants that have a on-sale license, not a full-service restaurant on-sale license, but just an on-sale license for liquor, have that ability to have the video lottery, which is at some of the different restaurants in town. Now, what can happen, which I think is what council is talking about in regard to restrictions is, and I'm not suggesting this person is doing this, right, but it's the best example that I can think of, is the Harry's building, right? It has an upstairs and a downstairs. I open my restaurant in the downstairs, and I have my full-service restaurant license. But then I put another entity together, and I get a beer wine license that allows me to do video lottery, and I put that upstairs. So now, in essence, I have a restaurant, I have a building where I have a bar and a restaurant, and what's to stop the person ordering the liquor in the bottom level from just carrying it up the stairs into the top level? So one of the restrictions that council could put into place if they truly wanted to limit that ability to, how the mayor put it earlier, work within the law, which is it in the spirit of the law, is perhaps some sort of change to the zoning ordinance that would disallow adjacent structures for video lottery purposes when the main building has a full-service restaurant. I mean, that would be one way that you could go if you guys were trying to put restrictions on it. The other thing is, because I know we keep, and to go to Councilman Allen's question about transferability, so, and I had a conversation with the mayor and the city manager this morning. The statute is not the clearest, in my opinion, so we're working with it. So 35-4-118 of the state statutes is with regard to the registry of full-service restaurant on-sale licenses. It is listed in the section just dealing with all the different provisions that are in place by the state for full-service restaurant licenses. We maintain a registry of those, and then if they are being offered for sale, and we furnish a copy of the registry to anyone who requests a new full-service restaurant license. The municipality may only issue a new license under this if no on-sale license is on the registry. But again, the registry is about full-service licenses. That's where the muckiness kind of comes up, because they keep mentioning on-sale, but we're under the full-service restaurant on-sale section. If no on-sale license is on the registry, or a person desiring to purchase an on-sale license listed on the registry shows that they can't come to a meeting of the minds with the person who holds it as to purchasing it, then the city could issue another full-service restaurant license, unless you guys had a cap on it. That would be a restriction.
Sure, I guess my question ties more to like places that sell like merch or something on top of it. Like, how does that figure into their figures?
I think council would have to decide to what extent they want to put more into the definition. Under the state statute, it's food and non-alcoholic beverage sales. Those are the only two things that are listed as to what should
What
be
the
in your
revenue
60.
compares.
Yep,
How would that,
it's food and non-alcoholic beverage.
sorry, Councilman Hoyer, are you okay if I ask a question on that?
Yeah, please.
How would that work with places of entertainment? I'm thinking we have a couple different locations in town that sell alcohol, or they serve beer. I don't think, I'm thinking of like Infinity Fun and Legends. They serve beer and they serve food, but then they also, their business is more entertainment. Let's say if they wanted a liquor license, would that entertainment then, like selling putt-putt, that is non-alcoholic revenue. Would that help satisfy the 60-40 percentage?
Sandwich, beverage, whatever you want me to. So, initially, yes, potentially, unless you guys redid the definition. And also remember, though, that they are still supposed to be, their primary purpose is a restaurant. I think Infinity Fun's primary purpose is the entertainment, and the food is ancillary to that. because that's how they're projecting themselves. They're not saying Infinity Fun Restaurant. They're saying Infinity Fun, come and play all the different games that are in there. And that's one of the requirements. You need to be advertising yourself as just a restaurant. That's your primary goal. And then the other issue would be.
Where is that in law?
Okay, well, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
So the other issue is, they need to obviously have a menu, they need to have a kitchen. It cannot be fried food, sandwiches, and salads. That's not the intent. And I believe, I'm trying to remember if it's in our ordinance or in the statutes or both. But I will find it while you're talking.
The only thing
City
on that.
Manager Stager, sorry.
I'm so sorry. The only thing on that too, though, is to keep in mind in that example you just gave, that is a full-service restaurant they have in there. They have a full smokehouse with like full course meal, everything, so.
In where?
Infinity Fun is your
Oh,
example.
okay.
Just so that's clear.
See, the only thing I saw at Infinity Fun on the menu was pizza and
Nope,
burgers.
they do like brisket and full
Oh,
barbecue.
okay.
Well, and I would also caution with this license, just say, Mr. Dempsey testified, and I wouldn't say, I don't know how much he makes off of pizza, but don't just say just pizza, because pizza can make you a lot of money. Especially with, I mean,
It's a heck of a split. You're killing it.
there are establishments that might only have one or two things on a menu and make good money at it. I'm just saying, it's a possibility.
There is a definition in the statute of criteria required to meet the full-service restaurant definition. I don't recall the criteria off the top of my head, but I think our city attorney has a statute chapter up.
Okay. And just, I'll go to Councilman Allen here in just a moment, but since our city attorney referenced, so this is what I was referring to at the August 18th meeting, is when I looked this up in state law, in particular, 35-4-118, specifically, and I should have read it then to explain where I'm wondering about this, because as I read it, anybody who wants to purchase a restaurant liquor license would first have to make a good faith attempt to purchase any liquor license that is currently for sale. I don't know what the definition is for sale, but in 35-4-118, so the city shall maintain a list of the licenses that are being offered for sale at the price established in 35-4-117, which is essentially going to be about the $180,000 mark that we had set back in 2019. That actually might be higher than that now, based upon recent sales of full liquor licenses. So the city would then, or the person would request the person who requests a new full-service restaurant on-sale license. The municipality or county may only issue a new license pursuant to the restaurant liquor laws if no on-sale license is on the registry, or a person desiring to purchase an on-sale license listed on the registry provides documentation showing that the person is unable to purchase the on-sale license at the price established, and on terms satisfactory to both potential buyer and seller. People can interpret this different way. We will seek further clarification, but this goes to the question that I asked on August 18th. If I owned a liquor license now, I would just say mine is for sale, and I would continue to do business as usual. If someone wanted to come and purchase my license for $200,000 or whatever, it's technically for sale. By state law, how I read it is anybody who owns one who would potentially sell, you first have to make an attempt to purchase from them before the city could even issue one. But that's how I look at it. Councilman Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to talk a little bit about the video lottery, because it was my understanding that according to state law, video lottery is only available within bars and lounges. So if, for example, we'll use Harry's example as you stated before. So let's say no liquor license, they're a restaurant, but they can't, maybe they do beer and wine, I don't know. But can they or can they not then, I would say that if they don't sell liquor, they can't do video lottery because they're not a bar. And I guess that's where it gets murky. The earlier comments that we made, and this was a discussion that we had had previously about, for example, our municipal golf course. And the idea was, well, this will be swell. The Muni can just plunk down 25 grand and sell hard liquor, which I think would make them happy. But the idea is they don't have a full kitchen. They don't have so they don't meet those other criteria. So they can't do that. It's not available to them. Is that correct?
And right now, we're talking specifically about the golf course, or are you
Well,
talking in general?
I'm sorry, Lisa.
That's okay.
I mixed up two
Yeah,
things.
no, that's okay.
And so the first question really is about, in order to do video lottery, do you have to be a bar or a lounge? Because that's what it says in state law. It's only available for bars and lounges. And so you would have to have a full restaurant liquor license in order to qualify to apply to do video lottery. Is that correct?
So,
Mine for 7 years, beer and wine and lottery only.
I'm going to have to ask, no comments from, if you have something to say, just come forward to the microphone, and I say that in part because anybody who's watching this needs to be able to hear it clearly, and one of those people watching is Councilman Jurens, and he just texted me saying he can hear great if someone speaks into a
Everybody's
live
up here.
microphone.
Sorry about that. I
but-
apologize.
And just out of respect, so.
My bad. I
Thank you for the
apologize.
clarification.
Yeah, no,
But,
I just.
Yeah, make
was-
the clarification now in the microphone.
Yep, I was just saying that I owned my establishment for 7 years with no liquor license, having beer, food, wine, and casino.
Okay.
So it ran. It wasn't the most profitable thing. We made it through COVID. We did a lot of things that I didn't think we were gonna make it do. But thankfully, we made it through it all. But yeah, it's plausible, and it is allowed to do that. as long
Okay.
as it-
I was unclear about that.
Thank you.
oh, so that answers your question, or you want me to elaborate?
Well,
So-
that answers the first part of the question, really, about video lottery and the availability of it. So, for example, Michael's place of business could get a video lottery license and put 10 machines in his place of business. The other question was really about who's eligible for a restaurant liquor license, and one of the criteria that we talked about was a full kitchen. I'm not sure how that's defined, but that's why, for example, the Muni couldn't get a restaurant liquor license. Is that correct?
Yes, in the sense of, so the definition for a full-service restaurant, under the state statute, is any restaurant in which a waiter or waitress delivers food and drink offered from a printed food menu to patrons at tables, booths, or the bar. Any restaurant that only serves fry orders or foodstuffs, such as sandwiches, hamburgers, or salads, is not a full-service restaurant. So in the case of the golf course, theirs is all, it's, burgers, there's a couple sandwiches, right? They have a salad. They're not, such as Dempsey's and Second Street serving, salmon, chicken, fish, pasta, steak. Just like Cloud Nine, they serve prime rib, they have a full menu, and obviously, some of the other, what I'm gonna call bar casinos in the area, they have a fry station, they do what they can, they make their burgers and maybe some chicken sandwiches. They're not gonna qualify because of the definition of a full-service restaurant.
Councilman Allen, the mic is still yours, but Attorney Carrico, where is that definition at in
Oh, yes,
state law?
it is in, oops, sorry, I pulled up the definition, not the, 35-4-110. And a restaurant is any area in a building maintained, advertised, and held out to the public as a place where individually priced meals are prepared and served primarily for consumption in such area, and where at least to the 60% of the gross revenue of the restaurant is derived from the sale of food and non-alcoholic beverages.
Okay. Yes, so Councilman Shetty was waiting. I think yours is more of a new line of subject. Councilman Hoyer had a question on something that was just said, so.
Oh, I just had a
Councilman Hoyer.
clarification with it. I mean, there is a pork chop night out at the Muni. They're wonderful, 1889 meats. But they do serve grilled food like that on occasion. So I don't know if that changes their definition or not.
I think it would have to be part of their permanent menu. I mean, otherwise, we're stretching it out of the spirit of what the full-service restaurant's supposed to be. I would also, to go to everyone, to the mayor's initial question about things that are outside of the restaurant that is impacting their sales with the golf course, even if we tried to make them a restaurant, they're not a restaurant, they're a golf course. So if they tried to do that, their physical template would be limited to the restaurant, and the people would not be able to take the cocktails into their carts and out on the course, because they're primarily a golf course with food. They're not primarily a restaurant. So when we do our physical templates, it's all about, where your location of your restaurant is and consuming on the premises. We would then be extending the premises onto something that is truly being operated as a golf course. That's my issue. And to tidy up the golf course, sorry, let's just bring that one full circle. The state passed statutes that excluded certain things for the city from your cap, because we have our cap is based on population, and we also inherit licenses as land gets annexed in that already had a license. So right now, we actually are above what we should have. 24, we actually have 27. So now, going to the golf course, there are state statutes that allowed for, I'm going to call an exemption from that cap, which was an event center and the airport. They had language in those sections of the statutes that excluded them from the cap, but they did not include that when they had a specific statute about the golf course, which would imply and be read that the golf course is subject to the cap. Therefore, the city can't issue it a liquor license. So that's it on the golf course. Moving back to restaurants.
Councilman Peters, you had a question?
I do. Lisa, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
So, how is the upfront vetting process done? Not to bring the golf course up again, but is our staff on the city side looking at this saying, well, you don't qualify because you don't have a full-service menu, so we're not even going to go down the path of giving you a special license for that we're talking about here?
So when we've talked, and it's been the city manager and myself, and I'll let City Manager Steger jump in as well, and the finance officer, we need them to obviously fall within that definition of a restaurant. So we would obviously, they would be coming, they'd be showing us their menu, right? They'd be showing us their location. They may show the layout of the kitchen. I don't know if we'd actually, maybe we send the building official over there to actually look at the kitchen. And basically, then they've met the requirements that they're showing us. Here's where our restaurant's going to be, here's our kitchen, here's our menu, and then we move on. Then it becomes at the end of the year, which I believe we have a slide about that, or to take it a step further, at the end of the year, so they get their full year under their license, then they would be submitting the documentation to show that they've met that 60/40 requirement, or whatever requirement the council set, if they wanted to make it more. Our suggestion, at least internally, was using the sales tax reports, as City Manager Steger offered up earlier in the conversation. And the reason for that was, yes, you can play with the numbers, but if they want to, play roulette with the Department of Revenue, so be it. Another option to make sure that, to go to some of the testimony about fudging the figures, is to not only get their sales tax reports, but their liquor invoices. Because if they have a high amount of liquor that they've bought, but their sales are really low, why would you be buying all that liquor? Unless you're selling it and charging 2 Cokes instead of whatever it is that you're, the liquor that you're providing, in order to try and meet that 60/40 requirement.
Who audits that?
Finance would unless we had some other ideas of having the license holder pay for that in some way to have a outside party do that. But initially, I think finance could probably do it. I don't want to speak for Kristen because I don't want to, she's not here right now. Because she'd just be looking at it to see, does it, at a glance, it might all pass muster, right? But if she saw something very, upside down, then she would say, hey, we need to look into this a little further. Now, I mean, I know I've personally worked in a restaurant. I've taken inventory of liquor. And I've done that when I was in college. So, I mean, I'm a little aware of how that works. But it would be the finance officer and then city manager Stager, and it would be kept confidential.
I'll offer this to that question, then I'll comment on your first question as well. Other municipalities have the finance office do an audit of the point of sale records that are provided by the license holder. I would also be comfortable offering the license holder the opportunity to have their CPA firm complete an agreed-upon procedures engagement, which may be beneficial to everyone involved because the CPA firm may be much more versed in their books and records than we will be. And so I'll offer that as a potential path as if we move down the path of an ordinance as well. Your earlier question about how we would evaluate a license, we have not received an application for a restaurant liquor license yet. So as our city attorney elaborated on a potential path, that's hypothetical at this point in terms of how we would vet it. And we would look to, first of all, having both the fee resolution in place as well as any restrictions you might place on a license by ordinance before we consider fully what that process would be.
Follow?
Thanks for that, Alan. Where I was going to go with this is we really don't know because we've never been down it, right? So even from the audit standpoint, we would have to implement brand-new procedures because I'm assuming even though we have these licenses available, there's no procedure to audit right now, correct?
Not within our city. We do have some experience from other municipalities on how they do it.
Okay, thanks.
Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a question for whomever can answer this. Why does the state have a population cap on liquor license? That's my first question, just to kind of set up where I'm going with my thought process. Does anyone understand why that cap?
Can I answer that, actually? As the council attorney here. I actually got a call today from a gentleman that runs an organizational lobbying firm in Pierre, and he said that they're so outdated that they date back to the Prohibition days. That's why there's a cap, because they wanted to monitor that so they didn't have a flood of new bars coming in all at once after Prohibition. And those laws are old and haven't been changed. That's what he said. So if he's wrong, it's his fault.
No, and actually that was going to be my answer. The comment that I made on the meeting on the 18th was also that, so Watertown we're just trying our best in a system that is very complicated, to put it very diplomatically. Most of South Dakota's liquor laws date to immediately after Prohibition and have not been changed. And part of the reason why they haven't been changed is by the time people got around to wanting them changed, you have a situation like the people who own the liquor licenses, or there's a lot more that goes into it. You've got distributorships, proprietaryship like that. And by the time that whenever there's discussion to change it, there's so much that you would have to deal with to try to make it equitable and fair that it's never been accomplished.
Thank you. And yeah, so with that information, the state came up with a statute for a restaurant liquor license, so that would tell me, just with my limited understanding, that that was a way to open up, maybe get past some of this prohibition law, if you will, potentially, because they're opening it up for more restaurants that can have the sale of liquor. However, it was, then there's these challenges we're discussing here. One thing that City Attorney Carrico mentioned was with the state statute, and maybe it's the spirit of the statute here, where they talk about the the meeting of the minds if a liquor license is up for sale. And so, for me personally, it'd be tough I'm just trying to work through all the pros and cons. I am sitting here tonight just really trying to get information so I can make a wise decision, honestly. I really am coming here neutral, just like, I guess he left, but, anyway. So, it'd be kind of hard to get together with the meeting of the minds on the sale of a liquor license if it's 25,000 from the city and 100 or 200,000, let's say, liquor license. I would think if that's what it says, that, well, if you can't come together on it, then you can go ahead and buy go the restaurant route. Well, I'm just looking at it again from that angle. I'm not trying to be pro or con one way or the other. I'm just trying to look at the facts here tonight, that would affect the coming together and being able to buy that license. So that would affect the price of current liquor license holders. Now, again, I'm not saying which way is the best way on this. However, as Mayor had mentioned, we are working in an environment where this is the way it is. We have privatized, liquor license. Do we take that into consideration? Do we not take that into consideration? I believe we must take that into consideration. So now it's the best way on how we go about doing this. So that's why this discussion, if obviously the state, if indeed there was some more reasons why the state wants to cap the population, if that goes back to some old laws and we're getting more flexible with this and we want to see more entities opening up with selling a glass of wine or whatever with a, or not a wine, but I'd say a bourbon or whatever with a steak, let's not get in the way of that as a city. I see that as something let's try to make this, but let's make it an even playing field, if you will. Let's make it fair, and that's the challenge here. And so I'm just trying to work through this. So now that I understand the city, or not the city, but the state statute, and that's why the restaurant, that does create challenges. So then there's other ideas that were brought up. For example, Jenny, I believe, from Second Street said if they're not willing to pay the price up front, pay the price over time. I had one gentleman bring up to me one day about what if you have a certain price you start with, and then you up it to $5,000 a year or something, so that way in time does it close the gap a little bit from the value of the liquor license to the value or to the fee for the restaurant. So I guess that's what I guess my main question here was the spirit of the statute and how we got to get creative to get this to where we can work together, where we can all be buying in on this. Because that's the point of having a work session, is so we can all buy in. I get it. Maybe not everybody will buy in on it, but if we can somehow work together and figure out a way to make this be a benefit for everybody, that's what I'm looking for through this work session. So
I'm going to just ask anybody who came in attendance one more time, and I want to just make this very clear to anybody watching. The word had gotten out on this. This is now the second time that we've discussed this. I'm saying this in part because if you care strongly about this issue and you're not making your voice heard, that's on you. That's not on council then, because we're trying our best. I hope that that's coming across. We're trying to figure this out and understand it well. And yeah, by all means, this is a call to, if you feel strongly, just make your voice heard.
My name is Larry Endress, and when you talked about back in 2009, when they started this restaurant/liquor license, just a little information for you guys. The city went and did a survey of what the licenses, people paid for the licenses, because each city in South Dakota did their own survey to find out what the licenses people paid for in the particular town that they had. So at that time, when they set it at $205,000 for the license, then they said that any other individuals that wanted to sell their license could go up to City Hall, put their name down, they want to sell their license for the $205,000. So if someone was looking for a license, they had to purchase that license for $205,000 from an individual versus the city giving them a restaurant/liquor license. Now, since that, in 2019, when you lowered it to $100,000, I'm not sure where that statute's at. And now if you lower it to $25,000, I really don't know how you can, like you said, if you can go to the city and buy one for $25,000, how do you negotiate with somebody that owns one for $200,000? But that, back in '09, that's what they said. That's what they kind of sold everybody on, the restaurant/liquor license, because if you held one at that time, it was worth 205. And if you wanted to sell it for 205, and somebody come along and wanted to have a restaurant/liquor license, they had to buy yours first for 205,000. So right now where it's at, I don't know. So just a little information for you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else here would like to take the microphone?
I'm Jeff Pike, currently working at Prairie Winds Golf Club. Used to own Lunker's Restaurant on the lake. The big thing that comes to me is the competitive restructuring that you're doing by sending a $25,000 liquor license versus a $200,000 liquor license. As far as what that new business can do, as far as their price of drinks versus the person that bought it for $200,000 is trying to make their money back on that liquor license. And it really kind of comes down to the, if you want to fudge numbers, there's Valentine's Day specials that come in and buy these 2 meals and get 2 free drinks, and it's all going to go under the food aspect of things. I mean, you say it can't be done, and you can look at that, but that's up front we used to give away free champagne when you came in on New Year's Eve or whatever. It was just to celebrate New Year's Eve. So there's ways around it. It's just the competitive advantage right down the road from a restaurant that can offer something that you can't because you paid X amount for it is where I think you need to keep it up there and not 25,000, which is the number I've heard. So, okay.
Thank you. Last call for anybody here in attendance. Okay. Council, any last words before we take a very short break before the council meeting? Councilman Hoyer.
I think something we should still do as a council that I would recommend as a work session material is I don't think we've really done a successful job of comparing the 2 licenses in a very clear and concise way as to what they can do and what they can't do. That's been like the biggest issue on Facebook, watching it from the sidelines, is that there's a whole lot of back and forth, and I would argue most of the public doesn't know the difference between the 2. I'd argue council probably still doesn't really know the difference between the 2. The other thing I think we need to be doing, if you really want to look at this and see are there advantages, is do the pros and cons of each license. With your full restaurant one, current full license holders, I mean, somebody mentioned like renting a liquor license. Can you do that with the restaurant one? No, I don't think you can. So if somebody put money into that, like, would they have the ability then forever to own that license and just rent it to people? I mean, I would think over time, eventually, you'd probably make your money back. But, it's stuff like that. I don't think we really have a clear picture of what each of them can and cannot do. And so it's hard to weigh that out, like, does one really have an advantage? I mean, for me, I just still look at that, like, Councilman Shetty brought up, what was the state's intent with bringing up that new license? And so, like, sticking that 60-40 on it tells me that restaurant probably isn't staying open past the kitchen, because I'd be concerned they're probably gonna ruin their ratios. Taking that same license and going to events with it just to sell alcohol, you might have some challenges with your ratios, or you might have amazing food and that'll never be an issue for you. But I don't know that we as a city really have a clear picture as to what these can and cannot do. And so I'd recommend at some point maybe putting together something so we actually have an informational packet, do a PSA, something so that everybody just gets on the same page as to what these things do and don't do. The worst thing I think we ever face as a city is how much misinformation gets pushed out. And some of that's our fault as a city for not educating as well and taking it upon ourselves to be more informative. I agree. I appreciate that Sean actually took the time to get people in here. I'm a big fan of, like, a letter should have gone out to every liquor license holder, letting them know, like, hey, this is being discussed. I'm sure you have a stake in it. I'm sure you care about it. Maybe you'd want to be there. But I just think if we're going to pump brakes or anything, that'd be a worthy thing to do, just so everyone can understand what they are and what they aren't. But that's my last piece on it.
Councilman Peters.
Can we, city manager, can we maybe just talk through the timeline here? Let's just say this was to be moved forward at the next council meeting for action. Does that need a first reading? Does that need a second reading? Maybe let's just talk through timelines so we better understand how many more opportunities we'll get as a community to talk about this publicly.
That depends on what the council would like to change. If the only thing you would like to change is the fee itself, that can be done via resolution. I think we've heard enough pros and cons of the different classes of licenses that I think the consensus you guys will reach is that you will want to put some restrictions on the restaurant liquor license. In that case, it would require a change in ordinance, which would require 2 readings.
Councilman Peters? Councilman Allen?
Thank you. I don't disagree with Councilman Hoyer about the need to maybe do some more clear communication about this. Part of it is that I confess there are still questions that I have, and I can see our city attorney smiling because I think she recognizes that there's some murkiness in all of this, and that's what I'm hearing. The other thing that I would say is that it appears from a lot of the commentary that we've heard is that people don't think it's very realistic to do a 60-40 split. And I forget all of who testified. I think it was, and I'm sorry, I forgot his name, Wobbly Penguin, saying, I don't think you can do it. You know, that you're going to be putting $25,000 down, and the chance of you meeting the 60-40 thresholds probably not very good. And then you're just out the 25 grand. You just lose it and you're done. And the other thing is that I think people forget that the full liquor license does have value. I can borrow against it. I can't do that with the permit. If I have a $25,000 permit, I can't borrow against it. I can't turn around and sell it. You know, so those are things that are, I think, important differences here too. But I'd be all in favor of either taking a hard enough look at it to, as city manager said, consider what kinds of ordinance changes might be applicable in this case, to clarify, to do what we can to support existing business owners who have obviously put a lot more money into their liquor license, to try and, I guess, make it the best ordinance and the best option for businesses wanting to start a restaurant with liquor options. You know, my only concern is that I don't want to put a bunch of additional roadblocks up that make it, you know, even more cumbersome and difficult for people that might want to make that attempt. It sounds like it's a risky attempt to me. I personally think restaurants really risky. And, you know, the failure numbers that Sean cited, boy, I don't know how you guys do it, to be honest with you. I know you work hard and you try every angle you can to get people into your business and to turn a profit, and I admire you for that, because I don't think it's a risk I'd be able, well, I wouldn't have the skill to take it. So that's just my final thoughts on it. So I'd recommend that we do a little bit more digging, try and come up with something that clearly differentiates, and have a further conversation about what ordinance changes might be important, rather than just dropping the fee to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Jerns, I want to make sure that I give you an opportunity to say something. I'm sure that he's still on. He might not be able to speak as to where he's at, so I'll just. Oh,
Mayor, thanks.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. A lot of the discussion was just too distorted for really there to be much to add. I not quite prepared. I did get some calls from those that were watching. Of course, they were on the proponent side. I've had one opponent call, and I've had probably 10 proponents call. So, you know, the opponents are going to come out. We know that. They're motivated. We understand that. It was good to sit in here and listen to their grievances. Yet, I'll summarize what the proponents have said to me, and that is, thanks for looking into these things, and thanks for giving Watertown a better opportunity to have a couple more options for restaurants. That is really clearly why this started, and that is clearly how I would like to continue moving forward and hearing some of the solutions to some of the questions. It's always good. Yet I'll leave you with some comments from Conda at the prop, because even though she's not a full liquor license holder, even though she's got a partial kitchen, and I don't know if these qualifications would work, she's very appreciative because she's had customers after customers over the years ask her to add additional items to her menu. That's on the drink side. And so this is a little bit of different request because they're not asking her, and she doesn't want to serve liquor with a pour and a mix. She just wants to be able to add some additional seltzers that are not wine-based or beer-based, but more of a vodka-based thing. And she's been restricted for all of these years to be able to offer that. And the justification to be able to charge $100,000 for that would not work well in the few of those types of drinks that you're going to add to your repertoire. But in the end, she just wanted to pass along appreciation for the city looking and the council and the staff looking into these things. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Out of respect, Councilman, I'm going to call we need to wind this up and go into our regular meeting. And we will take a quick break. I'm going to call an end to the discussion on this. Are there any future council items right ahead? Is there any public comment? There's no need to go into executive session. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Schutte. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're going to have